A lovely good morning to you, our viewers. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Camnet TV Breakfast Show of today being the 10th of July 2023. I hope you are having a lovely and beautiful morning. I am your host, Miriam Kaimba, and I will soon be joined by my colleague Patrick Soko, where we're going to be looking at various issues, among them the role of the church in helping the community in terms of developmental issues. What do the church, in terms of, we have heard several stories about the church, nowadays that the church is formed of several issues where we have seen a rampant and others are accused of being into business. But apart from that, what is the role of the church in ensuring that they help in community developments, among them helping the needy, donating various items to hospitals and other places? And anyway, we will be looking at other, trending issues that are happening in our country, so that you can also participate, our viewers out there, and tell us what are those pertinent issues that you would like your civic leaders, to bring to the attention of your civic leader that, needs to be addressed. But anyway, right about now, we go direct into our health corner and just see what the doctors have for us this morning.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. This week we have another very interesting topic, and we continue to look at conditions that affect women for the whole month of March. And so this week we are talking about another condition that affects a lot of women, and it's a condition that is seen in many people in the hospitals. So many people come with this condition. So we are going to talk about fibroids. So we want to understand what are fibroids and how do they come about. We also want to know what are some of the signs and symptoms to look out for you to be able to say that you have fibroids. Then we will look at how it's diagnosed and treated. What are the treatment options for fibroids? Then we'll also look at the complications and how you can prevent yourself from having fibroids. So today we'll look at what are fibroids. We want to understand what they are, and fibroids are benign tumors. So when we say benign tumors, we are talking about it's a tumor, of course, but it's not cancer. So these are tumors that occur in the uterus or the womb, and there are different types. So they can be found inside the uterus or around the uterus, outside the uterus, around the uterus, or in the walls of the uterus. So these are like tumors that grow in the uterus itself, or around the uterus, or in the muscles of the uterus. And they affect so many women, and they usually, mostly, it's women who are above 40 to 50 years. But any woman who is who has already started having her menses and is able to produce a lot of estrogen, they can easily get these fibroids. So from even as low as 20 years of age, someone can start having fibroids even when they are still very young. So these fibroids usually have estrogen receptors. Estrogen is a hormone that women usually have, especially when they start their menstrual cycles. They will produce a hormone called estrogen. And so when this estrogen is not may end up causing fibroids. And so these fibroids have estrogen receptors, and so when the estrogen binds to those receptors, they end up growing, and so they end up growing bigger in size. And this is why for people who have fibroids and they become pregnant, they would experience that the fibroids start becoming bigger, because when you're pregnant, you have more estrogen, and so your fibroids become bigger in size. So this is how fibroids usually come about, and this is what we call fibroids. And so we'll understand what are some of the risk factors and other causes of fibroids tomorrow. So make sure you watch tomorrow again to be able to know exactly how these fibroids come about and what are some of the other causes and also some of the other risk factors that you might not be aware of. So I do hope you have learned something. Today we're talking about what fibroids are, and we have said that fibroids are benign tumors, benign because they are not cancerous, but they are tumors that grow in the uterus or around the uterus, which is the womb, and these have got estrogen receptors which help them to grow even bigger when they are activated. So make sure that you watch The Breakfast Show, and if you would want to watch other episodes that we have done on the Health Corner, you can also watch them on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya Siameka on YouTube. I do hope you have learned something, and I'll see you again next time.
Thank you for staying tuned to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Soko, I was telling I was telling our viewers out there that this morning, we'll be looking at one of the things that is very important, and this is pertaining to the role that the church plays in terms of community development. We have seen a lot of stories on social media where now the church is being accused of, just being into business and all those kind of stuff. So yeah, I really look forward to this discussion that we are going to have this morning.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion. So we just hope to get a fruitful conversation so that we can get the views of various citizens. They are watching us in every part of this country and beyond. Interesting topic of discussion. We are looking at the role of the church in community development. First of all, we have also seen that there are quite a number of churches that have emerged, and there's also quite self-proclaimed bishops like Miriam Kaimba, Prophetess Miriam Kaimba, Bishop Kaimba. All those things, are emerging, because when did you become a bishop and who ordained you? You just wake up and decide to become a bishop. So now this church, as opposed to helping to complement or support the community, this church just becomes a conduit of activities that are ungodly and that do not propel the gospel of Jesus Christ.
But the other argument has been, Patrick Soko, I don't need to go to a Bible college study. I don't need to be ordained by someone for me to be a bishop. God was not ordained. These have been the arguments.
You bring up an interesting discussion, Miriam, but I will answer before. First of all, let's exhaust this other segment we have, where we have to understand how the kwacha is performing against other major convertibles. So let's see how the kwacha is performing. Now, the Greater British Pound is buying at 22 kwacha 91 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 36 ngwe. The euro is buying at 19 kwacha 55 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 94 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at a 0.94 ngwe and selling at a 0.96 ngwe, and $1 US is buying at a 17 kwacha 93 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 280 ngwe.
Running toward the 19 kwacha on the selling part.
Yes, so if you see the US dollar now, it has gone to 18 on the selling. It has already gone to 18. It was at 17 on both ends.
Last week you were hoping that it will maintain on 17.
Yeah, but I was optimistic. I was in vain. And you were seeing that it's misbehaving. So that's how the kwacha is performing against other currencies. As per financial institution that we monitor, they do vary from one bureau de change to the other, and from one bank to the other. But the difference is not huge. It's just cents. And we hope that you are abreast on that, on how you are changing your dollars, you are changing your kwachas into other currencies. So interesting enough, that's how the kwacha is performing. So you too, dear viewers, in case you want to give us your perspectives on this breakfast show, you can do so. Remember that we do stream live on our Facebook page where we stream this program, and on YouTube you can leave us that message and we'll be glad to hear your views. Just tell us where you are watching from, and also remember to share our page and like it so that we can get to interacting every time. And you also make sure that you click on the notification button so that every time we go live as Camnet TV, you are updated, because we do bring quite a number of live programs, as well as live interviews that we do stream here on Camnet TV.
So zooming in the headlines, just looking at some of the stories we had over the weekend, we did see you, Patrick Soko, yourself on the ground in Chipata, doing a story where the African Methodist Church was donating various items at Chipata Level 1 Hospital in Mandevu constituency worth over 21,000 kwacha. Now today we are talking about the duty, or rather the role of the church in terms of community development. But before I go there, I did mention something anyway. Before we go there,
you still want me to respond now?
Exactly, I want you to respond, because the argument has been, why should I be ordained or go to a Bible college study when Jesus Christ, even the apostles back then in the Bible, never, there was no...
But the apostles were guided by Jesus. The apostles were also guided by God. Now, I want to bring to your attention, there are various levels of ministering the word of God. Now, if you attend the bishopship, this is using my knowledge and wisdom. I'm not referring to anything. And if, for example, me, what the college does to you is to help you understand the composition of this Bible. For example, how is the Bible made up? What does the Old and New Testament represent? What is the genesis? What is the history around the Christianity? You cannot dream that in your head if you don't have education. That's why we have people who guide you, to guide you through the process to say, this is how it is. How do you interpret the Bible? Do you know that you can choose to interpret the Bible wrongly to suit your narrative? But what education does to you, or if you are being ordained, what that does is that it helps you to be at that speed to know how to interpret the Bible in accordance with how it should be interpreted. You understand me? Now, if you have no basic knowledge or understanding, how do you interpret it? There's one that sometimes you have to.
Others will argue that the Spirit will lead you. When you pray to God, you basically have the Spirit to lead you in terms of interpreting.
No, the Spirit is part of the process. That is unarguable. Why don't you go and preach every time you wake up at the pulpit?
Because that's not your calling.
I'm asking you.
That's not your calling.
Why don't you go and preach?
It's not your calling.
Does everyone else just stand up and go and preach?
No, it's not your calling. So if it's your calling, then you definitely know that.
Now, listen, Miriam. A calling will be there, but you still need the people to guide you. Even the senior bishops, the senior pastors, all those people are there to guide you. They are sent by God. It's not that you can only get this knowledge and understanding through the education process, but there should be someone telling you. You just can't wake up. Like for me, I wake up, say I'm Bishop Soko. Even yourself, I think you question. Okay. Won't you question me if I wake up and tell you that I'm Bishop Soko? You won't question me?
That's a story of another.
Okay. I'm telling you. You won't question me. Okay, so tomorrow I come as Bishop Soko.
Basically, I will question
you. Okay, should I come tomorrow as Bishop Soko with like white collar there on my neck?
Basically, I'm going to question you and question, the genesis of this. But the other argument that I'm putting across is that a lot of people would argue that, in terms of spiritual things, like when you have to preach and stuff like that, it's a calling by God. Now, you have to be led by the Spirit.
I'll simplify this explanation. Journalism is a calling, but you have to go to Zamcom to go and learn. Are you getting me? Now the calling now manifests in how you deliver your stories when you go to court. That's how but you have to go through this education process. Did you just wake up and dream say I'm a journalist? You start reporting for Camnet TV? You just wake up from the blues?
But
answer the question.
Soko.
Answer the question.
When you talk about,
but journalism is a calling.
When you talk about the things
but
of
journalism
God,
is a
when
calling.
When you talk about the things of God and these other careers,
you said ministering is a calling.
And these other things are different.
Journalism is a calling.
You know what? You cannot compare it when it comes to the way
let's look at that.
Anyway, let's get
this argument will continue. Yes, see, that's how it go.
Let's get direct into playing that story.
Effort. Hence, the government alone cannot single-handedly foster national progress. The church is certainly a key government partner towards alleviating the sufferings of the people in various social sectors, such as health. With the resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic, partnerships cannot be overemphasized. As of the 6th of July 2023, the country had 836 active COVID-19 cases, with 7 admissions and 829 under community management. The African Methodist Episcopal Church Gardenside 3 Jordan Chapel donated assorted items to Chipata First Level Hospital. The church undertook a cleaning exercise, provided masks, cleaning materials, and hampers to patients, among other things. Reverend Richard Ngulube says the church feels duty-bound to play a role in creating a conducive health environment in the community.
This is not the end. This is just the beginning of what this church is going to do. because this church is situated in here, where the location where this hospital is. So because the members are coming from this location or this locality, so it becomes important, as stated in the Bible, where Jesus said that I was sick, you visited me, and they asked, where did we visit you? And he said, when you visit one of these thy people, then it means that you have visited me. So our coming here to come and present these donations is because we want to be relevant within this community where this church is.
Meli Mvura is sister in charge at Chipata Level 1 Hospital, who expressed gratitude for the gesture, saying it will go a long way towards delivering quality healthcare services.
On behalf of the hospital, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the church for having come through to us. As they have come, their good gesture has been well received. We are thankful since they've done the cleaning for us. They've helped us clean the hospital environment. It is good for our patients. Even the donations that they've brought, it really goes a long way. The bed sheets will help our patients. Even the cleaning materials we'll be able to use in caring for our patients.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Well, welcome back. You are watching the Camnet Breakfast Show Monday morning edition, where we focus on community, and on Tuesday we equally focus on community perspectives. And talking about communities, among key stakeholders in the community are the church, and that's why we are looking at the role of the church in fostering development in the community. And you too, our dear viewers, what do you observe pertaining to the church in your various communities? Is the church being that relevant to your community in terms of making sure that they complement towards various issues that affect the community? For example, we are talking about issues pertaining to community gangs, which are known as junkies. Is the church playing an effective role in the community to help mitigate this vice? These are the discussions we need to be bringing about, because at the end of the day, the church seeks to bring about a positive change, light amidst darkness. Now, is the church doing that? Because if we are seeing that there's moral degeneration in these communities, then where is the church? Is the question we're asking. So in case you are observing some of the good gestures the church is doing in the community, you can also give us your perspective. We also want to hear from you regarding how the church should be able to position itself to contribute towards development. Because overall, Miriam, I want to also bring it to attention, for example, I think the church has a huge role to play pertaining to issues of gender-based violence.
Exactly.
Because you see, these are people who go to church. They go to church to go and congregate, and the church ministers to these people. But do they minister to make them also understand that violence is not good? How, if people are not listening to the message, what extent should the church go? Do we need community outreach activities? So those are things we need to be discussing.
Exactly, and also not forgetting the fact that, you know, the church also plays an important role in terms of, you know, looking at issues that affect children. You know, child abuse, we have seen a lot of child abuse stories talking about physical abuse and sexual abuse. You know, the church also has a role to play, but most of the time you find that a child has been defiled, and then this man is coming from a certain congregation, but the church will not even play any role. They'll say, no, we need to sit down, we'll pray, maybe it's the demon. No, Pastor, go to the police, report that person. He's a danger to society. You can't say, no, it's a demon and stuff like that. It
needs to also be rebuked on the pulpit.
And I just want to put it out to you that we have seen a lot of cases before the courts of law where a pastor has been accused of, you know, engaging in different activities which are not of good, you know, use. So sometimes you get to question that if these people are going to church, what is it that the message they're getting at the end of the day? Yes, quite all right. We have seen, you know, we need to see people coming to church, yes, you're going to preach about prosperity and all other stuff. But when it comes to issues of gender-based violence, issues of child abuse, what messages are you putting across that so that the people understand and appreciate that if I do this, it's wrong, the law will face me?
Interesting. That brings me to another interesting subject, Miriam, where in the past we had a very good and progressive campaign when to discourage or to combat the HIV pandemic. It was abstinence, Iriche. Now, you hardly hear the subject of abstinence in the church, and we do not even talk about it. It's not among the prioritized mechanisms to fight HIV. And you are seeing that young people are a major victim of teenager pregnancy. Now, we claim to be a Christian nation. I think these are some of the things we need to be proclaiming. But how, as we minister, how is the church positioning itself to take prominence in national matters? I think that's overall, that's what defines Zambia's Christian nation's perspective. If you are seeing, for example, issues pertaining to same-sex marriages that have been re-emerging, it's because the church is also becoming too silent in the midst of these. They only try to wake up at a time when these things escalate to, or there's something that has happened. But how are we proactively preaching? Because in as much as we do not like our children are being subjected to this content that is converting their perspective, their minds, and they tend to think these things are normal. So, but how is the church waking up to say, no, this is not a godly perspective. This is not how we would want things to be done. This is how we would want things to be done. And we are allowing, for example, content that we are receiving through our existing channels that is not appropriate to children. But how do you guard against that as the church? But the church is not positioning itself for those things. And so now we're talking about the role of the church. I think for me, they have a huge role
They basically have a huge role to play, and this brings us back now to the topic, Soko, that we were arguing about here. Who should be a pastor? Should someone just wake up and say, because of such nature, that's why we are facing such issues where the church is silent and they do not know which role they need to play in terms of, airing out certain issues that are affecting the country. Because a lot of churches that have emerged recently, they are just into business. And you would attest to that. Someone will tell you, no, eat the cockroach for you to get healed. No, eat a snake. These are the things that
you need to drink doom.
You need to drink doom. But if someone drinks doom, basically you want them dead. What are you preaching?
So all those things, is that, for example, like you were saying, eating a cockroach, what difference does that make to your life? To what salvation? Does it bring you closer to salvation?
And
or relevant to such a prophecy?
The funny part is that people believe this, and when you see the targeted areas, someone goes in Kanyama, you find that a lot of people are not highly educated, and everything, and because sometimes the others will be highly educated, but sometimes they're desperate, they want to receive that miracle, they want to see change in their life, they intend to do whatever they are told.
Yeah, so those are the problems. Let's also look at this other story where also we had another church also making a good gesture to the community.
We did also see a story over the Abel Musumali Foundation, donating meal to the elderly in Mississippi compound, and they did partner with the church. So these are some of the the activities that we have seen the church in terms of helping the needy, coming on board to identify people who are vulnerable in society and just make this little contribution. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, let's just get to see that story on helping the poor. Zambia is a landlocked country in sub-Saharan Africa with a huge number of people living on less than $1 a day. Although Zambia is the world's 9th richest copper deposits, 3 out of 4 people are living in poverty. Saturday, the Abel Musumali Foundation took time to donate various items, among them meal to vulnerable individuals. Given that a 25 kg bag of meal is costing between 215 and 230 kwacha, For the beneficiaries, this gesture was more than what they could wish for at the moment. One of the beneficiaries, Elias, says he struggles to feed his family after his wife abandoned him when he got sick.
Alisha msiti market nombo mulando wakuputana mafia parangefi. Chinonshikumbira fesa pato panganda so bungo bunatotera sana kuri abapeo Somali. Lesanga banayi. Please na papata walanja fuisha ko muri twatuno tunchito mbombo twakwera ko tusapato tibwanja fuisha ko kulingana n'eshikuru n'abana bandi kutira n'abasongira mu nabambi abana ndi obula palamina na benda lesanga mpala ko so ko mafana kumakulaya.
The foundation has been called on to continue with such a project of helping the vulnerable, especially the old age.
One going to get this meal, it will really help them because in our community, there is poverty. People don't have food. So it will make us a difference. Yes, they'll have food at the end of the day.
Meanwhile, the foundation CEO, Abel Musumali, says many Zambians still live in extreme poverty, hence the need for various stakeholders to come on board and assist.
As a foundation, we wish to continue doing such kind of work, because we believe that out there levels of poverty are so high, and we shall forever continue living with people that are poor. And at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of everyone to take care of somebody that is in need out there. So as a foundation, together with the church, we mobilized about close to 18,000 to purchase these bags of meal, and also the beneficiaries that have come, we are also providing them with transport. So basically, no beneficiary is supposed to spend money like maybe jumping on a bus. So mainly these are the old age people, and if you saw those that have come, mainly they are old age. They are also people that are living with a disability.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News. Quite interesting. Those are the good gestures that we have seen. The church ensuring that they also participate and help the vulnerable in the community. Indeed, we call upon the church to come forth, to talk about various issues, in as much as they can, comment on various issues affecting the nation, but they also have a role to play in ensuring that they also help the needy in our society.
For example, Miriam, the Keep Zambia Clean campaign should be a baby of the church.
Yeah.
Because, for example, they say cleanliness
is next to godliness. So
now who should be propelling the agenda? Should be the church.
Yeah.
So all those things, I think we can do more.
Exactly. And I think, we should, as a church, if they took up a month to say, you know what, we're coming together, various churches across
within
the
their
country,
communities,
yes,
within
our communities, and then we're going to have selected parts of the communities, areas where we're going to do our cleaning. I think if they did that for a month, we'll be able to see a lot of change, because from the churches, this is where a lot of community members are coming from.
Yes.
And if they see the need of keeping their environment clean, do you think you're going to walk, Patrick, and see any bottle around the street?
And they won't even participate in throwing those
No,
litter,
they
because
won't.
they will understand. Say, at the end of the day, we're the ones who are going to clean.
So
Let's try to maintain the environment.
Exactly. So yeah,
you play a part in making sure that the environment is clean, because you're aware that you are part and parcel of making the environment clean. So those are the various issues we are looking at. This morning we are looking at the church and development, and that some of the stories we are zooming in were part of the gestures being undertaken by the church to just come to the aid of the vulnerable in society. And also we saw that a story that was coming from the African Methodist Church there in Garden of Mandevu constituency, where they were donating assorted items at Uchipata First Level Hospital, given that hospitals are always areas of need where attend to various patients on a daily basis. Others are coming to the facilities, others are leaving the facility, and so the need for assistance is endless, and we saw that the gesture that was undertaken there was also a milestone in that we are also looking at the resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, what does this mean? The comeback of the COVID. It also means that we need to be see how we can protect our public institutions against this virus, because at the health centers, this is where we tend to see a lot of cases pertaining to COVID-19 pandemic, because this is where also these patients are treated, and we have to make sure that we make sure that these places are well cleaned. And we saw that they donated quite a number of cleaning materials, chemicals and masks. So this time around, we need to make sure that we continuously be proactive, as well as make sure that we also observe the golden rules towards mitigating the COVID-19 pandemic. As you already know, I think most of you by now, you can attest that you have experienced or encountered a flu. So this should tell you that
common.
It should tell you that we are at that time when the COVID is hitting us. So it's important that we keep warm and make sure that the young ones are also kept warm as they go to school. Make sure that they are put in appropriate attire to avoid them getting a cough or getting a cold, so that we protect our children. And another story, Miriam, that we can also look at is a story coming from Chilesha farmers, where some farmers in Chilesha village of Mbara district in Northern Province have bemoaned the later distribution of farming inputs by the government. The farmers spoken to complained that the farming inputs come in late, and that when they come, they are not enough to cater for all the cooperatives. So let's look at that story. We'll be back.
Small-scale farmers in Zambia remain the breadbasket of the country, yet the late distribution of inputs by the government has been negatively affecting their crop production. These are some of the small-scale farmers in Chilesha village of Umbala district in Northern Province whose crops did not do well due to the late distribution of inputs by the government, and are now being forced to do piecework for a commercial farmer in the area to make some money to feed their children.
Our complaint is on fertilizer. Why is it that government only sends out fertilizer when the rain is about to end? We are getting 4 packs against 28 people. So how are we going to share? We just end up dying in our poverty. That's what I have. Let the president come in and support us.
And the farm owner, Newton Chilela, says he is optimistic that fertilizer will be distributed on time, considering the fact that government has announced that it has started sending inputs to the districts.
One of the single biggest challenge for us is fertilizer inputs, because I think last year we had a challenge in terms of deliverables. These were delivered towards the end of December, and some by January they have not received their inputs. So I'm very optimistic this year with the pronouncement from government coming forth that this year they've already started the distribution of inputs into the provincial centers. So hopefully that before the onset of the rains we should expect to receive the inputs. Although the majority are small-scale farmers, and they depend on these inputs. And also with the debt restructuring that we've seen, it has a kind of brought a lot of excitement within the small-scale farmers, and their expectations are that next year, as we go towards October, when the finance minister will be now pronouncing the budget for 2024, our expectations are that there will be more allocation into the farming sector.
With small-scale farmers being the majority in Zambia, there is need to come up with a proper mechanism that will ensure that inputs are delivered on time to minimize on the losses. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast Show. Interesting story there, Miriam Kaimba. the farmers, they are lamenting over the late distribution of farming inputs. But they are optimistic that the government has assured that this time around there will be a difference in terms of the delivery of inputs, because I'm also preview that some of the suppliers have already started doing that, and in other jurisdictions, the maize is already sitting in some sheds, and like in Southern Province. I think that's a positive gesture, but we hope that such a gesture is sustainably managed so that we continuously have distribution throughout to avoid us as a country lamenting over the same things we have been talking about over and over again. So let's get proactive to address these issues that are key, especially pertaining to national food security.
Now, just looking at some of the issues trending in our country, Patrick Soko, you will agree with me that the issue of land wrangles has been on the increase in our country for several years now. So on Saturday we did a story in Makeni where a family is, they're having this dispute over land. So according to the Nyonyi family, they are saying their grandmother bought that land in 1974 from a white man who was a farmer. So when that white man died, apparently, years later, his son emerges and says, no, my father refunded your grandmother back the money, so we need rather our land, and we're talking about 120 hectares extension. This is a big land. The family has been residing on that land for over 50 years. So these are some of the issues that, that I think, government should come on board. And we did see recently, I think that was last year, the Ministry of, the Land Minister, Ministry of Lands, putting up a system, integrated system that can help, solve these land issues. These are the things, because for the increase continuous of these cases that we continue experiencing in the country, I think there's need to find another way or method on how we are going to address issues of land, wrangles in our country. Because it's quite sad.
It is sad. Land administration has remained a major problem that we face as a country. And like you said, we need to find a lasting solution. I understand there's a new system that has been deployed by the Ministry of Land. And they want to make sure that there is sanity in the administration of land in the country. But however, doing that also overnight is not an easy undertaking. But however, I'm optimistic that these issues will be addressed, because Land and Natural Resources Minister Elijah Muchima is on record telling us that he wants to make sure that land matters are amicably addressed, and that those who have issues pertaining to land, they should be able to engage him or engage his office to make sure that these issues are addressed amicably. So for me, I think also my advice would be that the affected parties also in this story that we're about to look at also get to engage the Ministry of Land to see how they can find strike a balance. Now, they've been doing that in the past, but we have a new administration in the under the UPND. So the United Party for National Development Administration is also keen to leave its own legacy pertaining to how we handle land matters in the country. So now we can get to hear what the minister, how this new minister will address these issues. I understand that past ministers have failed to address these issues. The judiciary and the previous administration did not attend to this matter adequately so that it can be disposed of. However, we just hope that closure would be attained on this matter, because at the end of the day, if you look at how many cases we receive pertaining to land dispute, Miriam, they are quite immense. And and the disadvantaged in these all issues are the ordinary Zambians, you and me, Miriam, who just maybe, for example, just get a portion of land. You buy a portion of land for someone. Again, someone comes say, I'm actually the owner of the land you bought from this other person who claimed they own the land. And all you want is just to have shelter. And at the end of the day, you are affected in such a way.
By 30.
Yes.
And someone comes to claim
claim your 10 by 10 and they want to claim it. You can imagine the agony.
You know, this brings me back to another debate I've seen over the years. People saying, who should own land in Zambia? Should our government system allow a foreigner, you know, have easy access to owning land in Zambia? These are the other questions.
If you ask me, I'll say no foreigner should own land in Zambia.
My question would be, why do you think that?
Yes, because land is our inheritance. Land is our title. There's no country without land. If we sell our land to foreigners, ultimately we have no land. We have no country to live in. You can imagine you're a traditional leader who has no land. Then it means you are also a foreigner in your chiefdom.
Yeah, in your chiefdom, exactly.
So you need land, because land governance overall is what defines us as Zambians. Land, it belongs to us as Zambians. So for example, if it is a foreigner, they can only rent land.
But we have seen a lot of foreigners over the years, you know, buying land, and these are issues where they want now to displace the ordinary Zambians from their own land.
And sometimes we have foreigners, for example, who are even selling land to Zambians.
Yeah,
if you go along this stretch to Great North, you can buy land from people of Asian origin. So let's look at that story, then we'll be back.
After mounting a 3-decades-long battle over the now controversial Baobab land, the Nyonyi family is now calling on the president to come to their aid. The land in question, which is 120 hectares, is situated in Makeni, Lilai, adjacent to Baobab College, a prime location for commercial residential development. The family says it has been residing on the same land as far back as the 70s to date. According to the Nyonyi family, the owner of the disputed land is the late Violet Nyonyi, who settled on the land in the 1970s after transitioning from being a transporter into a farmer. She decided to acquire farmland from a white man farmer and began a journey as the first black woman commercial farmer in Zambia. However, son of the man their late grandmother purchased the land from is giving them sleepless nights, as he claims that his late father refunded the family back the money in order to get back the land, when in fact not.
First of all, he claims that he refunded the money which was brought to the family, which is not true, which is very false. He's well known for grabbing land and not giving consent. That is his tactic of dealings. He says he's selling a piece of land and he never gives you the consent. And then after some years he comes back and says it is his land. So basically the claimant is claiming that we are not the owners of this land and that he owns the land simply because he holds the title. And basically we have the evidence that his father sold the land to us and he's never made any refunds to our family concerning the land, and that's where we stand with this issue.
They are now calling on President Hakainde Hichilema to address their plight, as all means used have failed. The land battles over the years turned into a nightmare for the Nyonyi family as they try to protect the land left for them.
Including the caveat which we had actually put on this farm for the white man, Mr. Van Black, and which has been consequently ignored till to date. So we are appealing to the head of state to say, sir, could you please hear the Nyoni family's plight of what has happened, the injustice, the corruption, and all the bad vices that you stand against, that, sir, can you please attend to our family with the quickest of speed. This issue has taken us over 50 years to be heard and to be sorted.
Meanwhile, those close to the family also added a voice.
Issue of the Nyoni stroke Baobab land is very, very straightforward. I grew up in this area. My father, Ambassador Honorable Kedi Warubita, former Foreign Affairs Minister, has a farm just next door here, next to the Zambia National Service Land Development Branch, LDB. So you see, it is very surprising that the neighbor here, John Van Black, can remain incorrigible to try and usurp and claim ownership of this land. You see, even in the courts of law, the court determines a case based on the presentation of credible documents. But what has been surprising in the past is that also the judiciary, the High Court, in the past has let us down. We are confident now that the team that is led by His Lordship, the Chief Justice Mumba Malila, we have got all the confidence that this issue now is in safe hands.
Recently, the government said it had newly deployed the Zambia Integrated Land Administration System to address issues of long-standing land dispute in the country. However, wrangles over land in Zambia continue to be on the increase. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Amid Zambia's natural beauty, the struggle for land is a thorn in the flesh of many citizens. This is the case of Namalombo residents of Middle West area in Chilanga district who are uncertain about how tomorrow will be. The land they've been dwelling on since 1989 is now the center of debate from three individuals who claim rightful ownership: Mr. Leonard Kalichini, Mr. Lusulo, and Dr. Wininski. The trio are claiming that the land is rightfully theirs, citing that all the land documents are in place dated from 1990 and 1991. But the community says the land in question was for Mr. Stephen Makate, who later allocated land to Mr. Roger Tembo and Mr. Bitsaide Letsijere, believed to be among the first settlers on the land, who died between 2019 and 2021. The residents have questioned why the land dispute has only surfaced after the death of the first settlers on the land in question. In a letter dated 9th September 2022, the community wrote to the Ministry of Land requesting for verification of the land in question, L47 64M, L54 11M, and L27 340M, which to date has not been verified. They are requesting that the approved sketch maps of the land in question be made available by the ministry, alleging that the trio who are claiming ownership have created a WhatsApp group where they are intimidating occupants on the said land.
Tonight I request kuti tishinikishe mafamu yao batuuze maboundaries yao pano yapera. Tinaleta surveyor wamenana na pimamo tapeza ti mafamu yangenana ni mafamu ya tatu yali involved, so yonse yangenana imozi yanena pimiwa inangena muri yonse ya tatu yangenana muri inango extra ili kumbuyi. So if it is wakutiva Minister of Lands songa pase title pa mafamu yangenana nichifuka chachi ti doubting amaning. That's why tonight I request kuti kubere boundary verify Minister of Lands kuti waburi waite survey still a problem in chance so abwera. And then ichilango cho dabwisa nchakuti pamene wakamba kuti mafarms ayo ni yawo vambodalo charging abantu tikalibe kugwirizana kuti chite conclude pa issue ba charging kudala abantu mosa gwirizana. Last meeting yanteze nayo sitinagwirizana tinakangana tinashushana meeting inasira prematurely, but veve wanaenda wapangana WhatsApp group kuyambo kuita victimize wantu manje kuwatumira ma messages lipira 50 kwacha pe square meter.
Pamene tiyendera tunaisa kwenda kuchilanga kuona ba chilanga chairperson then mapepa tunango ndio comment tulile kuti batandizire but nkhani ikulu amene tifundisisa ni yakuti babwera bapimemo so that aliyense azibe pamene alili azibe malo pamene alili so that kukaikira kwa bantu kusile then ivofika chitika ndiye kuti bantu bonse bazankhala bokondwera chifukwa chakuti mayezi ya paka pamene kwa sokoloka muntu kuti no ndine mwini.
The community is worried that despite land offer letters being given to them by the Ministry of Land, the said trio are threatening to evict them from the land they allege is theirs. This journalist also made efforts to get the side of the alleged owners who refused to be on camera. The residents have pleaded with the Ministry of Lands to hit the ground and come to their rescue. For now, they look up to the government to resolve the issue as the Ministry of Lands has not yet given an official position on the matter. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Chilanga.
Well, there you have it. Those are stories pertaining to land governance, and various issues have continued to emerge, especially in the area of land management in Zambia. Land wrangles are a daily activity that we undertake here on Camnet TV in terms of covering. And we had seen that there was a story coming from the rather the TIZ, that's a Transparency International Zambia, who were expressing concern pertaining to how land is being administered and managed in Zambia. Now, if you look at the reemergence of real estate companies, we have quite a number of real estate companies that have emerged, and that has also tended to be a problem for us as a country, because now they are selling land not cheaply. It's not affordable to many Zambians, but the same land over again, others are reselling the same land to other people. We are seeing this confusion pertaining to land management in Zambia, but the question we are asking is, what do we need to do? Are we being sincere? Are we being serious in terms of addressing issues pertaining to land as a country, if we're going to be seeing such issues? And ordinary Zambians are the ones who are struggling at the end of the day to access this land, because those who have money, they do not mind at what price this land is pegged at. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that when we're looking at land governance, we holistically look at it. Prior to that, we also played you a story that is coming from the Nyoni family. It's a long story. It's been a long story in that it started a long time ago. It's not a new story, Miriam Kaimba. When we were looking at the historical battle of that story, it started a very, very long time ago, and we still not be able to get closure to that. At the end of the day, you see, I think I now understand why, for example, Zimbabwe's late President Robert Mugabe had to undertake radical land changes there, because he realized that Zimbabweans there we are not benefiting from their birthright. So at the end of the day, now we are seeing that now Zambia has become attractive to these foreign commercial farmers, and they're able to pay for whatever land they can, whether you pay it at what price, they're able to pay for it and get to acquire that land. But who is disadvantaged at the end of the day? It is the ordinary Zambians. And if we are not going to address this land ownership issue at the end of the day, who should own land in Zambia? I think we are going to continuously have these problems.
And you know, the other concern or fear is that 50 years from now, Soko, you'll find that my children will not have land. They will not own land, because a lot of land will be
in the hands of
foreigners. Yeah. So that's another concern. So again, the other question is, at what price should we attach, you know, a fee on land, so that an ordinary Zambian can have access to land?
For me, when I'm talking about ordinary Zambians, me, I'm also looking at Zambians of Zambian origin, black Zambians.
Exactly.
What are the benefits there? You know, we have people, for example, who may be Zambians by citizenship. They are Zambians, but you know, they also, because we have this process for dual citizenship, they are also privileged to benefit from the other governments in their countries, and they're supported financially. And when they come here, they come and dominate Zambians of black original Zambians, so to say, if it's such a thing. Because they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have anywhere to go. So where do they go? Where do you go, you Miriam Kaimba? The only place you know of is Zambia, and the only place you can flourish or succeed is Zambia. So now, if we are not going to address issues pertaining to land governance, if we are not going to be having honest and strict discussions around land governance, believe you me, we are going to continuously face these challenges.
Again, the other fear is, if you're going to attach a fee of 1 million kwacha for me to purchase that land, do you think I'll be able to do that?
No, you're just reserving that land for a foreigner.
Exactly. So those are the fears that, and again, concerns that we need to look at if we're going to talk about land issues in Zambia.
Interesting. So land is a birthright, but however, we see that this is a problem. You know, just to access a 10 by 10 plot is not easy.
That's 10 by 10. When you buy it, you purchase it.
Again,
2 weeks later on, when you go there, you'll find someone has built on your land. But in the Mawayanga, no, in my paper,
okay. Okay.
Exactly. Those are the concerns. But anyway, just as we come to the end of our conclusion, we were talking about the role that the church needs to play in terms of development, and we had a very good debate rather, where you
do you agree that I won? Did I persuade you? Did I persuade you?
You want me to agree?
You won't agree. You have to agree.
Did
I persuade you?
Should I agree?
You have to.
Should I?
You have to.
No, I'll leave it in the hands of the viewers. Yeah, people should send us, those messages so that we read.
But I thought I managed to persuade you.
We should, so that we read on what they think about.
Yes, you have a calling to be a journalist. I don't argue with that, but you have to go to school for that as well.
We're talking about spiritual matters.
Yes, you have a calling to be a pastor, but you also have to get the necessary knowledge for that.
The argument will be. Those in the old days, yes, they were taught by God.
There are also spirits that are demons. There are also spirits that are demons.
Yes, we know a spirit can be
so if it's a spirit,
from God.
So if it's a spirit that a demon is using you say it's a spiritual matter. You have to say it's a spiritual matter. Anyway, come prepare tomorrow.
Anyway, at the end of the day, we need to ensure that appropriate measures are taken in place, and people who want to be pastors, men of God, bishops, and they undergo a necessary process so that we do not see this mushrooming of churches where people are masquerading to be men of God. Yeah,
you knew someone yesterday, you were with them, then the other day they go to this classroom and start a church, and instantly they are prophet or prophetess. So sometimes they will tend to confuse you. So you'll find them ministering, they are a prophet, a prophetess, But again, if you look at what they do, you tend to wonder, but does that befit you? Yeah. And do you have the necessary knowledge? So these are the people at the end of the day who are easily misleading people, you understand? Because probably their interest is to make sure that they persuade people that they have spiritual power. But this spiritual power, they tend to make obvious guesses and tell you to say, there is meat in your fridge. I can see that there is chicken. Amen, Papa. So, because Mimi, it's obvious for me to predict that, for example, where you buy things in bulk to prepare for the month ahead. You are a waker. So for me, it's easy for me to predict that. I can see that sausage in that fridge. In that component, the other component. Chicken. I see that chicken. So I'm able to predict that. It's not that I'm predicting. I'm just using psychology on you. But all those things. But is that chicken necessary to my salvation? But the other concern again is, do you think these people also bring confusion in families? Sometimes someone would go, no, I want to go to a certain man of God so that he can prophesy for me. But they'll be taught during the prophecy, it's your mother who is bewitching you. Or it's your sister or your brother. Yeah. Sometimes they do that, and they do bring this confusion. So sometimes yourself, just like which doctors do capitalize on your psychology or your thinking, they will just ask you to say, whom do you stay with? Whom do you have? Before you lost your phone, which person were you close to? I was close to my aunt. And then, okay, so how is it? Then you tell this person a lot of... anyway, let's pick this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Okay, we seem to have lost that call. Please do call us back and give us your thought on the role it's a technical
the
problem.
Church should play in terms of development.
It's a technical problem. So like I was explaining. So at the end of the day, they just contrast said, your aunt, there is the one who has gotten your bag. Then it is, in fact, it is you even gave the idea to this witch doctor that I even have an aunt there. It is you and not him or her predicting. It is the same now. We've had some of these young men of God who are coming, who would want to predict unnecessary things and just make you think that they are supernatural, they have supernatural powers and everything. Your blessings from entering. So for me, at the end of the day, if these people are well equipped, we have an opportunity to create a better society, because you know what, the gospel of Jesus Christ, really, there is no substitute, there's no shortcut. The Bible is a very, very a progressive book. If you read the Bible, you understand the Bible, for example. Everything that we are doing today, everything that we are living today is been documented in the Bible. You see circumstances that you may be encountering today have been documented in the Bible. The knowledge on how to interpret that message is what you need, but you just can't dream up and interpret the message correctly. First of all, you have to understand the Bible. What does the book of John represent and manifest? You have to know that. Why do we have Acts? Why do we have the book of Liberation? Why do we have the book of Proverbs? If you go and read Proverbs, they will teach you a lot about meaning, about life, about what we encounter as human beings, about some of the certain things we do not need to do, what we need to do, to progress. So all those things are there, Miriam, but how do we make sure that we interpret this book correctly? You need wisdom, you need understanding. Just like in journalism, you need mentorship. You also need guidance. There's no way you're just going to be dreaming to do the right things as a journalist without sometimes the guidance of others on how you need to do things. It's the same with the ministry of God. For example, you should have one day you have a senior pastor. A senior pastor also oversees these junior pastors. Make sure that this person brings them up to speed to say, this is how you do things of God, or this is how you do things of the ministry. You just can't be waking up to say, today I can compete with my pastor without no understanding. No, you need that guidance. They need to teach you. They have been through it. They have ministered the word several times. They have interpreted the Bible several times. And they have also listened to great men of God before you, but that they are able to teach you the right thing. So when I'm arguing on that basis, for example, that the Soko should not wake up tomorrow and become, say, Bishop Soko and the white collar there on the neck, I'm telling you that it takes more than that. No wonder sometimes you need to understand theology, you need to understand a lot of things pertaining to this
and again, anyway, before we end our program this morning, the other debate has been, should people learn how to speak in tongues? Should you be taught to speak in tongues?
Yeah, so for me, long time ago, I learned that the people would only do that to only come naturally.
Yes, exactly.
And they would only do that, But sometimes I've seen people practicing how to speak in tongues and master the tongues, the tongues, whatever they say, and master them the way they said. If you said "Shelele bota," you master that. You master that so that when you start playing, then you just switch to say "Shelele bota." You understand? All that confusion, it's also part of the spiritual confusion that we have. But how do we get, anyway, those are
the stories of another day. Anyway, we have come to the end of our program this morning. We thank you so much, our viewers who took time, to join us in our conversation this morning, where we're looking at the role that the church plays in terms of community development. Thank you so much. And for me, Miriam Kaimba, and my colleague Patrick Soko, it's bye-bye. Stay blessed. See you tomorrow.